Why do so many AI products look brilliant for 5 minutes, then disappoint the moment real work begins? That gap between demo quality and product quality is becoming one of the most important questions in software. A model can speak fluently, summarize fast, and produce impressive answers on command. But real products do not live inside perfect prompts. They live inside messy teams, changing files, partial permissions, outdated notes, and unclear goals. Once the system loses track of that environment, intelligence alone is not enough. The model may still sound confident, but the user experience starts to break. And that is why the next phase of AI competition may be decided by context, not just by model size. When people say an AI system needs context, they often mean something broader than memory. Context includes the documents a system can see, the tools it is allowed to use, the decisions that were already made, the actions that are forbidden, the format the output must follow, and the history of what happened before. In other words, context is the operating situation around the model. Without it, the model has to guess what matters. With it, the same model can suddenly look much smarter, more stable, and more useful. This is part of what makes AI product design so different from building a search box or a chatbot. The real challenge is not just generating language. It is helping the system act inside a specific situation without drifting away from the truth. That sounds abstract, but the failure modes are concrete. Imagine an AI assistant helping a team write product updates. If it cannot tell which document is the latest one, it may quote an outdated plan. If it does not know which numbers were approved, it may include the wrong metrics. If it cannot distinguish draft material from final material, it may present internal speculation as a confirmed decision. None of those failures require a weak model. They happen because the system is missing authority. It does not know which source outranks the others. So, it fills the gap with plausibility. And plausibility, in software, is often more dangerous than silence. This is also why retrieval alone is not a full solution. For a while, many teams treated retrieval as the missing piece. Just connect the model to your documents, rank the chunks, and the problem is solved. In practice, that is only the beginning. Retrieved text may still be stale, noisy, or irrelevant. The best answer may depend on timing, ownership, or workflow state rather than simple keyword similarity. A system can retrieve the correct paragraph and still make the wrong decision if it does not understand that the paragraph was later replaced, limited to a specific region, or superseded by a manager's approval. So the real challenge is not just access to information. It is access to the right information, in the right order, with the right weight. This becomes even more obvious when people talk about AI agents. An agent is not just answering a question. It is choosing actions. It may decide which tool to call, which file to edit, which browser step to take, or which message to send next. That means small context mistakes can grow into large operational mistakes. A chatbot that misunderstands one sentence may only produce a bad reply. An agent that misunderstands the same sentence may trigger a workflow, modify the wrong file, or send a task down the wrong path. In other words, agency raises the cost of ambiguity. The more actions a system can take, the more carefully its context has to be structured. That is why the strongest AI products increasingly look less like a single giant brain and more like a coordinated system. They combine retrieval, memory, permissions, workflow state, tool metadata, validation, and human checkpoints. They remember what matters, but they also forget what should not leak into the next decision. They keep track of which tool is reliable for which job. They record what happened in previous steps so the model does not start from zero every time. And in the best cases, they do something even more important. They turn vague user intent into explicit operational boundaries. The system does not just know what the user wants. It knows what good output looks like, what failure looks like, and when it should stop and ask. There is also a business reason this matters. Bigger models are expensive, and their headline gains do not always translate into proportional product gains. But a better context system can improve reliability, reduce repeated errors, shorten time to completion, and make a product feel dramatically more trustworthy. That changes the economics. Instead of asking only who has the most capable base model, product teams are starting to ask a more practical question: how do we make capability repeatable? Because users do not stay loyal to a product that shines once and fails 3 times. They stay loyal to a product that behaves well under ordinary pressure. Of course, context introduces its own risks. The more a system knows, the more carefully it has to handle privacy, security, and scope. If memory is too sticky, the model may bring irrelevant or sensitive material into the wrong task. If retrieval is too broad, the system may surface documents the user never intended to expose. If permissions are unclear, the model may attempt actions it should not even consider. So the answer is not infinite context. The answer is disciplined context. Good AI products do not simply feed everything into the model. They decide what should be visible, what should be temporary, what should be verified, and what should remain off limits unless a human explicitly approves it. So how should we evaluate an AI product now? A useful test is to look beyond the first answer. Ask what the system knows about your working environment. Ask whether it can separate or quality, not just retrieve text. Ask whether it remembers the right things between steps. Ask whether it knows when uncertainty is high. Ask whether it can explain why it shows one action instead of another. And ask what happens when the environment changes. A truly strong product is not just impressive when conditions are clean. It stays coherent when conditions become noisy, partial, I'm going to teach you how to fuddly, or contradictory. That is when context stops being a technical detail and becomes the product itself. The bigger point is simple. Intelligence creates potential. Context turns that potential into dependable behavior. That is why the future of AI products may be shaped less by who builds the most dazzling model and more by who builds the best surrounding system. The winners may be the teams that know how to ground a model, constrain it, inform it, and connect it to the real state of work. In other words, the next leap in AI may not feel like a dramatic jump in raw brilliance. It may feel like something more valuable software that finally understands the situation it is operating in.